But before we move on to the rest of the Dota evening, we spend a lot of time talking to the players, talking to the coaches, understanding the nature of the personalities behind the favorite games. But, we also have some personalities, some amazing people here bringing you this action. And of course, I'm joined now by MLP Michael Phoenix. By the way, how did you come up with that name?
Man, it's so cringy, dude. I was young. I was playing guitar at the time, and my ambition back then when I was really young was to be a really cool guitarist, join a band or something like that. And I thought, what would be a cool stage name? Because my real name's not very cool. It's quite hard to pronounce, right? There's like literally no vowels in it. So I thought Michael Phoenix, a bit of French in there with the le. I know people are going to get a little bit upset hearing that it's not my actual name. Sorry to spoil it for you. The sad reality is as well, is I didn't realize what the initials were going to add up to, right? So I'm like, MLPDotA, that sounds normal enough. And then
My Little Pony.
And then like a year in, when I start getting followers on socials, I realized people are like, oh, this guy's a brony. He's got like some pony fetish. And I was like, oh no, how do I change this now? And it was just too late. So there we go. I'm stuck with it for life.
It's yours now. I mean, it's kind of interesting, right? Once you come up with a name, especially within the talent space, that's who you are now.
Yeah.
Like, I can never not be Snare. I've tried to change this many times. It never sticks. People are just like, this is your personality. This is who you are now. Are you a brony though? Have you watched MLP?
No, I haven't watched the My Little Pony's garbage for anyone wondering. No,
you should. It's fire. Because it's actually a good show. Like, unironically, it's actually a good show.
I mean, it's literally about rainbow ponies. What's so good about it?
So check this out, right? How I realized it was a good show. I had the same feeling as well. Like, this is trash, this is garbage. And one of my friends said to me, he's like, yo, I bet you that if you watch 2 episodes with me, right, we're going to finish at least the first season together. And I was like, you talking trash. And I was like, he said to me, he sweetened the deal. He's like, I'll buy the liquor.
Right.
I went to his house. I sat down, thinking to myself, oh, this is going to be a nice excuse to drink, and then we'll do something else. 7 hours later, there I am being like, well, I guess we're bronies now. Ain't no other option. This is how we roll.
I feel very sorry for you, sir. That's never going to be me. I'm never watching the damn show. In fact, I had an ambition, right? Once I went through the torture of people constantly asking, is MLP a brony? Is MLP a brony? I hate that caster because he's a brony, right? I've decided my ambition now is not to be the best caster anymore. I just want to get popular enough that when you Google MLP, you're going to see my face.
Oh,
that's what I want. That's what I want.
Fire.
I'm eliminating those damn ponies. They're my arch nemesis now. We're getting rid of those bastards. Any parents that want to show their kids that show, they're going to have to look at my face first. They go through me.
Talk to us about this, or actually being a caster, right? Because at this point in time, you've been to TI. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Amazing show. In my opinion, right? My humble opinion, you're the best caster in the world right now. So there's a lot of people, obviously, in the background who want to get into the talent space, who want to become casters, right? What has your journey been like? Like, how did you get involved? How did you get started? And what advice would you give to the up-and-comers?
How did I get started?
Yeah, man, tell us the story, bro.
That's a pretty crazy story. I won't go too deep into it. It was a very, very tragic time in my life. There's some. Again, I'm not going to get too deep because it's quite sad. But there's someone that meant a lot to me that attempted to take their life at the time. My wife, who was then my girlfriend, was in a victim of domestic violence, right? So at the time, I met my girlfriend. My wife, or rather my mother, was hospitalized from attempting to take her own life. And I got this 9-to-5 job. My ambition was, let me buy a house for my mum, right? Because my dad didn't get along too well. So divorce happened, trying to take care of my mum, trying to take care of my then girlfriend at the time. And I worked at a bank for a couple years. Super depressing.
Yep.
Right? 9-to-5 job, corporate environment. People were just, you know how it is. You only go up the ladder if you kiss some ass, right? And I was like, man, like I can do better than this, surely. And my wife at the time said, well, look, you come home depressed every day.
Yeah.
What do you want to do with your life? Like, you don't want to work at this bank, right? Well, what do you want to do? And I said, if there was anything in the world I could do, I would cast Dota for a living.
Yeah.
But I had no confidence, right? I'm a guy that's going through some tragic shit, and there's zero confidence. And my wife literally said to me at the time, and I can't make this up, she said to me, you will sell this house and you will start casting and we'll live on the savings. You will quit your job, sell this house and start casting, and I'll suffer through it with you. And if you do not, I will divorce you right now.
Oh, snap.
And that's when I knew, well, I gotta marry this woman.
Yeah, that's a keeper for sure.
Marry this woman, right?
Yeah.
That's how it all started. And it's been a crazy journey, man. Like meeting John X Fire, like the coincidence with that as well. Like I I was casting an amateur league called Echo League at the time. I'm not sure if you're aware of it. It was quite a long time ago. It was an NA league. And I was casting with a guy named Stinky Pie, and one day he couldn't show up.
Yeah,
you remember Stinky, right? Clement, right? So one day he couldn't cast, and he said to me, "Hey, Mike, I can't cast with you today, but I got this guy named John X Fire. He's pretty good. You'll probably get along with him pretty well. Why don't you give him a chance?" So I said, "Sure, I'll cast with this guy named John X Fire." And the thing was with Stinky and John, were at the time when, again, very tragic things were happening in my life. They were two guys that randomly said to me, "Mike, we don't know you, but we think you have what it takes to go all the way through this casting journey." And like, when you have zero self-belief in yourself and two random guys from Southeast Asia tell you, "Hey, you're the one. You're the one. You could actually go all the way." I don't know, like, it was really special to me, right? And I remember at the time, John was saying to me, "Mike, I'll cast with you, but there's going to come a point where I can't keep up," right? He's like, I don't think I'll be able to keep up with you as an analyst. I think you should cast with me until you can find maybe an ex-pro or maybe another talent that's already an analyst, and then just move on. Just leave me behind. Yeah. And I said to John, I'm a pretty loyal guy. So I'm like, no. If we start together, we're going to finish together. And if we crash and burn, let's crash and burn together. It doesn't matter. We'll do it. We'll just stick together no matter what. And it's worked out, right? Like, it's quite a beautiful story in some sense.
So tell me about this. Something that's interesting is quitting, right? Because I've tried to quit many, many times. I actually almost quit like last year, just before getting my first DPC tour. I almost quit like esports entirely. Who was the one, or rather, what are the conversations like when you probably try to quit at some point in the life? And what did you need to hear that kept you in the game and didn't allow you to get out of it?
I mean, I got to bring up my wife here, right? Because there was probably 3 years into it, ran out of savings, had no money, can't pay the rent, can't pay the bills, credit cards on debt because I've been withdrawing money from that to pay the rent, right? And no matter what I would say, I tell my wife, "Look, I'll go get a job. You know, it's okay. I have to let the casting thing go. It's been long enough. You know, I'm almost 30 years old. What are we going to do, right? Like, we want to have a child, whatever." And she's like, "No, I don't care what happens. I don't care if you go homeless. We'll go homeless together. It doesn't matter. You are not going to quit." And as much as I would like to tell you that it was all me and I'm some macho man and I would never quit, I must admit there was quite a few times where I just said, "Man, I don't think I can do this anymore. Like, how long am I going to, put this woman through suffering when she's given me this opportunity?" But we did it. I mean, we did go homeless like 3 times, but she stuck by me. We made it work, and, her words stand true. Just don't quit. You can do it.
How do you feel being on the other side of it now? Because obviously you've spent a long time, like you said, having to deal with this. But what was the W? What was the highlight? When was the day where you were like, "Oh my God, I made it now. This is actually working"?
TI. I mean, Stockholm was the start. We did Stockholm Major. That was our first LAN event. And that was like a really big highlight for us, right? Because it's like first LAN after COVID, how exciting, blah, blah, blah. And obviously seeing people in Stockholm, we didn't think they'd know us because we just casted SCA Dota, right? Yeah. Our opinion was only SCA people watch SCA Dota. And people would come up to us and say, "Oh, we're big fans. We love what you guys doing in that region." That was a highlight. But then you get the email from Bruno, right? You get the TI email. And that's something special. I remember I woke up in the morning, had some coffee. It's been awake for 2 hours. For some reason, my phone hadn't, like the data hadn't connected. I wasn't connected to the Wi-Fi. I don't know what happened overnight, but it disconnected. Turn on my PC, randomly check my emails. There's a message from Bruno, and I'm like, okay, let's see what this is going to be about. And he's like, we'd formally like to welcome you to TI. And it wasn't group stage either. It was straight to main stage. And I was like, whoa, like it's actually, and for 2 hours, I swear to God, 2 hours straight, I stared at that screen blankly. Just 2 hours. No music, no videos, nothing. I just stared for 2 hours. My wife was like, "What the hell are you doing in there? What are you doing?" And she's the one who snapped me out of it, right? Because I'm literally just staring there blankly, just being like, "Man, it finally happened. We're here." And like being able to finally, support my family financially. That's a good feeling. It's amazing.
I'll be honest, when I first got the TI email, obviously I didn't get main stage, I got group stages, right? I thought I was being trolled. I was like, "This isn't real. This is cap." Because I was trying to get into the qualifiers and that didn't happen. And I was like, "Well, GG, well played, whatever. Maybe next year." And I was like, this is cap. This doesn't actually make sense. But it's different, isn't it? It's like,
it's crazy.
Wow,
man.
this is actually happening. And So let's actually talk about it, right? Dota is our one true love, right?
Yes.
I actually had a very similar conversation to you about, I think it was maybe 8 years ago. I had this conversation with my partner, and she was like, what do you want to do just with your life? Right? And I was like, well, I've just minted this engineering degree. I should do something with that, but I kind of hated engineering. I'm hating life right now. I'm going to quit engineering. Oh, I'm going to go back to school, do some physics for a while. And she's like, no, what do you want to do? And I was like, talking about Dota would be pretty cool. That would be pretty pog. That would be nice. I would love to do that. And now you're here.
Yeah, man.
Now we're out here. Now we're being flown out to just talk about Dota. It's a different feeling.
It's really nice as well seeing people like you, right? Because you and I were, again, same boat, right? We were kind of suffering through the journey together in some sense, even though you and I personally didn't know each other. But I knew who you were, you knew who I was, and we were both kind of grudging through the process, the grind as they would call it. And it's like, we're here together, and I don't know. It's kind of. I mean, you and I have been saying we'll see each other at TI at some point together.
Not at TI. TI finals.
TI finals, right? That's the goal.
It's gonna cost the TI grand finals. I'm gonna be host, hopefully.
Absolutely.
We'll be out here.
It's on record now.
Do you remember? I think it was 2018-19, but there was a period of time for like 6 months where literally every day I logged onto Dota. Right? It was MLP and John casting Dota, or me casting Dota all the time. It was like the grind, the churn was there. Let's actually talk about that churn, right? Because yo, real talk, y'all. This is hard work, right? It seems easy. It seems like a very fun job, but like the degree of difficulty is actually pretty high for what we're doing at this point. Yeah. How do you deal with that? How do you make sure that the churn doesn't get to you, or the grind doesn't actually kill you inside and kill your passion for the game itself?
Oh, I've never been. I mean, I've been playing the game for 20 years, man. I never get sick of this game. You know what I mean? It's incredible. This game's incredible. It's the best game in the world. And to my opinion, it's the best sport in the world, right? Like, it's nothing compares. There's nothing. No drugs, no sex. Nothing compares to Dota, in my opinion. You might say, "Oh, Mike, you're just addicted to the game." No, it's special, man.
Yeah.
When you're in your darkest times, what was it, Dendi who said it during that first True Sight? You're in your darkest times and nobody's there. There's always your Dota family, and as toxic as they can be, as annoying as those players can be, it's like we're still a family.
Yeah.
And every good family is toxic in some way, aren't they? Every good family, they got to give you some, you know. And it's like this was my family when I didn't have one. When you're suffering at home as a teenager, you know, your parents are arguing and everything's going to shit.
You still had Dota.
You always had Dota, and Dota was always there for you. And that's, I don't know, man. I could never guess. I have too much to repay to Dota.
Dota has unironically saved my life many times, and I am involved in a lot of other esports, many of them, many, and many times when I've tried to think, maybe Dota's not working out for me, no matter how much they paid me elsewhere, Dota always had my heart, and Dota will always have my heart. The best game ever made, the best game ever played, and we have the best teams involved in it, and of course, some of the best talent involved in the Dota world. So with that, thank you so much for the knowledge. Thank you so much for the story, Big Mike, Uncle Mike.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
I would like nothing more than to plant myself in the sunshine next to a cool